Hi everyone, this is Teresa McLean, and I want to welcome you to MedSurg 2. This isn't quite the start that we wanted, but in order not to miss out on much, especially for tomorrow since the college is closed, I thought I'd go ahead and give you the introductory piece or as much course information as I can. So it will be important for you to make sure that you have the MedSurg 2 course syllabus, your calendar, the clinical tracks, the course outline, the course syllabus supplement, as well as the course clinical guide, so I can take you through most of that. First off, I want to start with the calendar. So if everybody will get their calendar out, I don't know if you can see this good or not. Start with the calendar. If you'll notice on the January portion, it says at the very beginning to make sure all your immunizations, CPR, and TB skin tests are up to date. And this is really important. We need to make sure that all your clinical requirements are in and do not expire before clinicals are over. If you know that your TB skin test or your CPR is going to expire before the semester ends, you need to go ahead and do it now and get it over with. We will require that that is done prior to clinical starting. You'll also notice at the top of the calendar, it talks about computer training, and that day is this coming Thursday, the 9th. Each clinical track has their own separate clinical training or computer training. St. Thomas will be at 6D, St. Thomas, from 8 to 12. Skyline has its separate clinical track, and Sumner also does as well with separate clinical training. Your instructors will give you more information about that coming up. Centennial's computer training is all online. I will give you all the links for that, and that 4-hour period on Thursday will be the time that will be designated for you to get that done for Meditech. Okay, so if you look, tomorrow, since it was supposed to be our orientation to MedSurg 2, and your Kaplan math tests are due by 9 p.m. There are several Kaplan math tests on there. They're the basic, and there's also another couple. And we've already specified those to you in an email. So you're to choose 2 of those, one from each group, and to do those, make a 90% and make sure they are done by 9 p.m. tomorrow. And you should have plenty of time to do that now. If you look on the 7th is a skills lab practice. Mrs. Cantrell has already set up that document with your assigned scheduled times, and it is on the portal for you to look at. It is a big document. Please take time to look over it before you come in on Tuesday for your practice time. At 4:30, we will have the first calculations test, and the room assignment is at the top. Grub track will go to Breen Hall, Cantrell track will go to room 200, leg track will go to room 202, and McLean track to 203. On January the 8th will be your first unit lecture. Haha, there won't be lectures, that's the new thing, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Will be your first unit discussion, and then that will be from 1 to 2. That lecture discussion will be in St. Martin's. And just as a way of letting you know, on the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd, all our classes on those days will meet at St. Martin's. Otherwise, on our regular days, on Mondays and Thursdays, class will meet in Breen Hall. That is our regular classroom. You'll also, from 2:30 to 4:30, have CDM orientation, and you'll have a lab discussion. The next week, on the 13th, will be skills lab practice once again with times designated already. On the 14th will be the first skills lab evaluation, and I will refer you to the document about the skills lab. 14th will also be the second calculations test, and that will be in room 102. 15th will actually be okay, let's continue on. The 16th is cardiac again and CDM delegation. If you'll notice, the 20th of January is Martin Luther King Day and the college is closed. 21st is your skills lab eval day, second day if needed, and it's only for those who didn't pass on that first day. But if you notice, on the 21st, at 1 o'clock, from 1 to 4 is your IV lab, and from 4 to 4:30 is the third calculations test. Now let me go over some of the other important points to know. First, let's look at January 27th. That is exam 1, which will cover respiratory, cardiac, and I believe that's respiratory and cardiac, and burns. Then on the 27th, we'll start hepatic biliary. Clinicals actually begin on January 28th. Move on to February. February, two things have changed since your first calendar was put out. And one is that on February 6th, we actually have put in or made a change in CDM to MCIs and bioterrorism, and that's a flip from perioperative. That was what was in its place. So that change was made, and that new calendar is on reflecting it, that change. No other big things happening in February other than exam 2 is on the 10th, and you have a CDM midterm on the 27th. If you'll flip over to March, you'll notice that the first week in March is spring break, so everybody will get a break. And then on the 9th, daylight savings time starts, so everybody needs to flip their clocks ahead an hour. Exam 3 will be on the 10th, and I know that's right after spring break, and I'm so sorry, but it's the way it all landed. You also, let's see, had a CDM midterm on February 27th, and you will have the review for exam 3 and that CDM midterm on the 13th of March. March clinicals will go to the end of March, and then in April, you'll notice that you'll have quite a few things going on. Actually, back in March, exam 4 happens on the 31st, and that's your last unit exam. In April, we have a lot going on. We have we've added a new section called integumentary because we found out that students were lacking in disorders of the skin, and that has been popping up quite a bit on board, so we wanted to go over a few of those. You'll notice that all the Kaplan tests are in April, and the week right before Easter, you have Kaplan Question Trainers, Test 1 and 2, and Kaplan Question Trainer 3 on the 14th and 15th. And then you'll come in for a Kaplan Diagnostic Test, and everyone will have time set up for that. Easter's on the 20th, and then on the 22nd, we'll have the Kaplan Review. It is not an optional week. It is a mandatory week, which is explained more in the course syllabus. If you'll notice, the last week in April are our finals before Med-Surg 2 and CDM as well. Kaplan Predictor Test will be May 2nd, and graduation and baccalaureate are on May 10th. And that is the semester in a nutshell. It seems long, but it actually goes very, very fast. All right. Let's look at the course syllabus in just 1 minute. So I'll give you time to get that together. As I was saying, failure to achieve a 78 in either theory or clinical will result in a grade of F for the entire course. So basically what you need to know is that your grade will actually be computed using the 4 exams and the final. You must have a 78% average of those 4 and the final exam to pass the course. Once that is calculated and you make your 78, then the other percentage points will be added in for your final course grade, much like you did in Med-Surg 1. Grading scale has not changed. It's the same you've always had. Academic and professional integrity. You can read over. Attendance is important. It's the expectation of the faculty that students be in attendance for all Med-Surg 2 classes. Students whose absences exceed the course limit of 12 hours will be dropped from the course and will receive a grade of F. We will take roll every single day. We may also take it at breaks. We also write down how many minutes you're late. So we keep up with that, and usually around midterm, we send you a little notice saying the time that you have missed class and how that may have contributed to your grade. So just be aware of that. Kaplan Review is very important to look at. You are required to attend the Kaplan Review scheduled for Tuesday, April 22nd through Friday, April 25th. The review is scheduled each day from 9 to 4, and we ask that you be here at least 15 minutes before. Attendance will be taken every morning and at random intervals throughout the day. The Kaplan Review is scheduled during class and clinical days. Therefore, any missed hours will accrue in course attendance. Additionally, a failure to attend any part of the Kaplan Review sessions will constitute an unexcused absence and will be made up in the clinical setting. And I know our clinicals are over with at that time. However, we do have some other things that you will be doing if you miss any time. Exam guidelines. Our exams are multiple choice. Some alternate format questions and pharmacology problems. Only a simple handheld calculator is permitted for test taking. No cell phones, laptops, or programmable calculators are allowed for exams. Cell phones must not be on your person during exams. Furthermore, they must be stored in the off position, not on vibrate. Because of the potential disruption to other students, anyone found to be in violation of this will be dropped a letter grade on that exam. And we've not had any problems with that in the last semester or two, so just be aware of that. Guidelines for exams is listed in the syllabus supplement, and you can read those. You're expected to take all the exams on time. If by chance you are sick, have been sick, whatever, you need to contact us prior to the exam, not after the exam, but prior to the exam. And we expect to hear from you, not from your spouse, not from your children, not from your mother, father, sister, brother. We need to hear from you unless you're intubated or in critical condition someplace. But we do need to do that to hear from you. If we don't hear from you, it is at our discretion whether we give you a 0. Please know that once we do hear from you and you opt not to take the exam because of illness, and you know, there are times when that just happens. You're really sick, you've got a virus, you can't take the test. That's okay. We know those things happen. But you need to make sure that you get in touch with us. Please know that the exam that you will take as a makeup has usually half the questions that we give on our general unit exams. And they are alternate format, and as well as multiple choice. So please be aware of that. We're very upfront about it. Feedback is given on each unit exam, and that is on the course calendar when feedback is given. Your final exam is comprehensive. So please know that that also happens. Those final exams are not reviewable. And we do ask that when you take an exam and you have not made 78, it is required that you go to in-depth test review and meet with Ms. Weiss and go over your exam on your own. Once you have gone over that exam on your own, you may come to see one of the instructors, and that's very well laid out in examination grades and feedback. Kaplan testing on the following page gives you the layout of the test and the raw scores and how you get points added for that particular test. On the Kaplan question trainers, if you complete all 3 trainers as we asked, then you get that full 1%. If you only complete the first 2, then it's 0.75%, and if you only complete 1, it's 0.5%. And 1% is a nice thing to get. Kaplan Predictor, you get no points for that. Please refer to your student handbook. And the Kaplan Math Test, there's no percentage points earned toward the course grade with these tests. However, they're part of the course requirement and must be completed prior to the first clinical test. And that's all enough to be said about that. The rest is in the syllabus. The next thing is the teaching project or Camp Bluebird. Students may volunteer to serve as a camp counselor with Camp Bluebird, a camp sponsored by St. Thomas Hospital for patients with a cancer diagnosis. The number of students allowed to participate is limited. Students who sign up for the camp must stay for the entire time. Once participants have been selected, alternative assignments cannot be made. A journal of Bluebird experiences, thoughts, and reflections will be required. And you can see the course calendar for when that's due. Also see the syllabus supplement for detailed information about the Bluebird journal. For those not able to attend Bluebird, and let me just say we are given a number of people that can attend Bluebird, and some semesters it's only 6, some semesters we can take 10. So the rest of you who do not get to go to Bluebird will be doing the teaching project. This semester, the teaching project will entail making a bulletin board presentation on certain medications, and that is in the syllabus supplement as well. As far as clinicals, our clinicals are on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. For the most part, they are Tuesdays. Everybody does have a Wednesday clinical. They are 12-hour clinicals. We thought at first we were going to have some Friday clinicals, but we did not have to go down that road, and we were very happy about that. Additional student expectations. You're expected to attend each class and participate, and we expect you to bring your clickers with you as part of class participation. Electronic devices, with the exception of computers used for note-taking, must be turned off or silenced during classroom and clinical time. No audio or visual or video recording of this class is permitted. Computer use may be disallowed at instructor discretion. And this means if we're going around and talking, or you're doing your interaction or discussion, and we come around and we see you've got Facebook up or something else going on with the computer, then we may ask you to leave the class at that time. Calculation test. Each student will be required to pass a medication calculation test prior to clinical attendance. You will not be allowed to pass medications until a satisfactory grade is achieved. An unsatisfactory will be given for each week that a student does not pass the calculation test and is unable to give medications. Please see your portal for medication calculation policy. Clinical assignments are due at the designated time in a 1-inch 3-ring binder with the student's name, course, and clinical track, clearly visible on the outside of the front cover. A detailed explanation of this requirement, along with an example of the cover page for the clinical binder, is in the Medical Surgical II Clinical Guide. Schedule and weather, well, we're already getting into the inclement weather. Unfortunately, we're having to go through this, but hopefully we'll get it all over and done with before clinicals start. Please pay attention to what the college states as far as opening and closings go. If the college, as I was saying, if the college is closed, then we will not have clinical. But herein lies the problem. A lot of times the college will not decide to close until after we're already supposed to be at clinical. So your clinical instructors will get in touch with you and let you know what they're capable of doing and whether or not they'll be there or not, and that will decide whether or not you come. Now, granted, after we get there and they close the college and we're already there, most times we just decide to stay. So we'll go from there. And we'll go over these kind of things as they happen this semester. We haven't had problems with weather in a long, long time, but I have a feeling this semester may be something new for all of us at any rate. Okay, so that is the main gist of the syllabus. If you'll pull out this course supplement, it explains a lot more as far as testing guidelines go, and you really need to read over those. We'll try to go over those before the first exam and, of course, the final. There's more about Kaplan testing, when things are due, when things will be set up, the guidelines for the Bluebird Journal, and then lastly, the teaching research assignment. You will be set up in student groups for that. The groups will be drawn out of a hat, so it will be random. And as you can see, the topics are already designated along with the dates that they're due. And basically, the bulletin boards are going to be, there will be one in St. Martin's and one across from the nurses' nursing office. Started to say nursing station. One across from the nursing office. So, and we'll tell you who goes where. So the first one that's due on January 27th is the two drugs are Xarelto and Inderal. And there are 4 questions. So each student will get, when you pick whatever out of a hat, you'll have maybe Xarelto 1, which will mean what is the mechanism of action. So your bulletin board basically is going to be divided into 4 sections. You can divide it into a square, although they're not perfectly squared, but you can divide them into 4 sections into squares. So you want what is the mechanism of action, then you'll want what are the indications and off-label usage of the drug, what should be avoided when taking this drug, and what actions are taken to monitor for the effectiveness of the drug. The biggest thing to remember is you do not want an overlap of information, okay? Each section of the bulletin board should stand independently but should flow all together. Presentation week, each group will present their research and education material via an assigned bulletin board. Like I said, it was either in St. Martin's or MedSurg 2 bulletin board across the second floor across from the nursing office. Bulletin boards should be divided into 4 question areas, and students will post their information no later than 1 p.m. on the Monday of their assigned week. Bulletin board should be cleared no earlier than noon of the following Monday. So we want it to stay up basically a whole week. So there's an hour downtime when the bulletin board should be empty. So from 12 to 1 should be empty. Okay, that's it. There is a rubric on how you'll be graded in this section, and you can read over that as well. Each week after we grade them, all faculty will grade. You will get this rubric back. So you need to provide us with a rubric, turn in a pocket folder, a 2-pocket folder, We do not want a see-through folder, but a 2-pocket folder. Turn in a 2-pocket folder to us when you finish putting up your bulletin board, and make sure that the rubric is in there with your name on it. And that will help things along quite tremendously. Okay, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the clinical guide. We'll go over those at another time. But I do want to draw your attention to the course outline. And the course outline is basically just another calendar, so to speak, but it's a little more in-depth. Tells you what we're going to be doing on that day. It also gives you what you need to be doing prior to class, what are the outcomes, and what are your pre-class reading with each of it. Now, I mentioned just a little while ago that we weren't really having lectures, and we're not. What we will be doing is we will be posting either YouTube videos or voiceover PowerPoints for you to retrieve. They may or may not be posted on the portal. Generally, what we've done this last semester with a little bit of trepidation is we've sent you an email with a link for you to be able to pick them up. And that may be one thing. I think we're going to try a little more of trying to get the voiceovers posted or uploaded to YouTube so you're able to retrieve them that way as well. But with that being said, you're going to be asked to look at these videos or voiceover PowerPoints, review those prior to coming to class. Now, people have had trouble reviewing these videos and such prior to, and the only thing I can tell you is saying that, you know, maybe their computer was down or something happened. Well, basically, we've given you what you need to read prior to coming to class anyway. So even if you cannot see the video or if some glitch happens, you have all the reading, and you generally will have an outline for the most part of what's going to be gone over in that video. So there really is no excuse for not being prepared for class. Reading the material or listening to this voiceover or looking at videos is very important in order to be able to get anything out of the discussion we'll be doing in class. So we will not be lecturing during class. There is no need for any video or tape recorders because the lectures are already provided for you and will be easily obtainable. So hopefully this will help you out quite a bit. We'll use your clickers. We will use case studies, scenarios, different things. Put you in groups to discuss within a group, and then we'll discuss as a large group. So please come prepared in order to get something out of it. Do not get behind. Stay right on task. It is so imperative that you keep up. With all that being said, the cardiac lecture, the very first one that will be done by me, and it will talk about how to look at rhythm strips and decide what kind of rhythms they are and defining characteristics. Because it is so detailed, I will not be doing a voiceover with that. I will be doing a live lecture with that. So that is the one lecture that you can bring a tape recorder into to retape for that one. Okay, I think that covers most things. We'll go over the clinical grids when you are in your clinical groups at some point this week and have a little discussion on that. I hope everyone enjoys their Monday off, and we look forward to seeing you on Tuesdays. Thanks again. Bye-bye.